Welcome to our Divine Cuppa. I think this week is like week 4 or week 5. Oh, 5. Okay, we are rattling through them. I hope you are enjoying the content that we're coming up with each week. We're certainly enjoying it. I'm just going to introduce the rest of the team. Well, I'll introduce myself first. I'm Deniz Mustard. I'm an emotional fitness coach, and I help people let go of their emotional shiz and help them step into their power. And next we have Vanessa. Vanessa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, yes, thank you, Deniz. Greetings all. Welcome back to the Divine Cuppa. I'm Vanessa. I'm a lifestyle coach for mums, helping women to feel more confident.
Thank you, Vanessa. And Suzie?
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday vibes to you all. My name's Suzie. I'm an emotional wellbeing coach.
Thank you, Suzie. And last but by no means least, our beautiful and lovely Layla.
I'm Layla.
Team coordinator, stroke, wordsmith, stroke, woman of many talents.
Hey. Oh. Don't get the wrong impression.
So today,
I don't know where that's going. Angle, we'll stop there.
So today, Vanessa,
sorry, I'll mute myself now.
What we're talking about is something to do with money. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Deniz. Yes, I'm certainly looking forward to it as well. And just as a refresh for those of you who have been following these Divine Cuppas, what we've been doing is we've been reflecting back on our first workshop, which was called Healing the Chaos. And we're literally just talking through the slides. So the purpose of the Divine Cuppa isn't to regurgitate the workshop, but for you to really get our take on those slides from either personal experience, bringing in other people's stories and that type of thing. So yeah, we're talking about money is your bond today. So I'm going to bring up the slides, and of course it's not on the right one. Okay, let's just flip there. As I'm looking for this, because I'm always having a problem with these slides, let's just have some background in terms of, let's just talk about money generally. Okay, how are you feeling about money right now? So any of you can take that.
And I've personally worked on a lot of my money issues. People have a lot of money issues, right? So either not receiving it, not valuing it, not the energy around money in terms of other people have money, but I don't have money, valuing themselves when it comes to asking for money. There's so many facets to this energetic exchange that quite often it doesn't flow, and quite often there is a perception of lack. When there's a perception of lack, money seems to be something that people value themselves with. So if they don't have it, then they're not worthy of it. Or you can go on about this when you look into your own sort of money issues, and it's almost made into a real thing. It is, in the sense it's tangible, but as we're going to talk about today, is it?
Layla, how do you feel about money right now?
Well, it's funny you say right now, because I've always had the feeling from when I was younger. I don't know if resented is the right word, but just felt uncomfortable with the fact that money was our focus for everything. In order to achieve, or money was what was required. And you know, I'd remember these conversations with my dad. It's like, it doesn't have to be this way. It's like, yeah, but that's the way it works. You know, so it's like constant knowing that there is a way. And you know, as the realizations and the revelations come in more recently about how the money system works and what it actually represents and how it's being used to kind of keep us within that system as such, I think even more I've been working on myself to be in a position where I feel I don't need to focus on money as a requirement to live, to be happy, you know, to feel whole. And it's kind of developing that inner knowing that no matter what, I'm going to be okay, you know, and the focus doesn't have to be money. The focus, I choose to be doing what I enjoy, doing what I love, doing what brings me happiness, doing what brings me fulfillment, doing things that make a difference to others, you know, in just ways that make me feel good. So thank you.
Thanks, Layla. Suzie, how are you feeling about money right now?
Gosh, money, hey, don't we all have a story when it comes to money? You know, we've all got that money story. And I guess, I think, like Deniz and Layla have pointed out, I guess story for me, I left home with 20p in my pocket. And I never had money because whatever I earned went to my parents or whatever. So I guess I have a real kind of, I don't know what kind of relationship do I have, but today I know I'm great about everything and I don't think about money. As long as it pays my bills, as long as I can do what I want, we all live for that financial freedom. Yeah, it's those little things that we value and we know that everything's okay, that puts your mind at ease. And then everything else is a bonus. But I always remember a workshop I did, which was about energy and money is magic and it's everywhere. And I don't think I ever forget that. And I keep that in mind. Money is magic, it's everywhere. At the end of the day, it's an exchange of energy. And I think, again, the giving and the receiving, sometimes the receiving is a huge issue for me. You know, I have no problem giving, but it's receiving. Yeah, but that's where I am today.
Thank you, Suzie. Okay, so I'll just share where I'm feeling or how I'm feeling about money right now. Number one, I am basically so open to giving and receiving. And for me, I'm just like, you know, source energy is at the central point of my supply, all of my supply. So whether that be with money, with love, with different forms of wealth, because your health is your wealth, that's how I'm looking at it. But I just want to share a quick story. I think it was Friday, I put a post in our Telegram group where I said, oh, I'm playing a little game and I feel so happy and I feel so grateful. And I got some replies from Suzie and Layla at that point. So I'll just let you know that it was a little money game that I played. I was on my lunch break and I was feeling just so relaxed. And you know, this is when you want to receive and you actually have to be in a really good energetic state. I was feeling so relaxed and I just literally played a little game with how much money do I actually want in my life every month. But the question wasn't what, you know, how much do I want? It was, what am I going to do with it? So the game was actually setting out that intention of receiving, but actually being clear, what am I going to do with that money? And it was such an interesting little game because actually when you put it on paper, it was like, whoa. And one thing I realized in that game is even though my self-care should have been at the top of the list, when I put down an amount, how much I'd be spending on myself every month, it was right at the bottom of the list. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I need to love myself more. So I'm going to rewrite my list and put all my self-care needs and that cost right at the top. So that was just a little game. But anyway, back to the slides. Okay, so what I was talking about in workshop 1 was money is your bond. So obviously the slides have been up for a while now. Those of you that have been listening to how we feel about it, I'm sure you've had a glimpse at what we've got there. So last week in our Divine Cuppa, we spoke about the legal fiction And that's where your name has been capitalized. So it's the capitalization of your name in different formats has been turned into a trust and effectively a corporation. So as you can see on the slides, we're talking about how the fact that you were born and you have the ability to, in a sense, work, be a creator, that is stimulating the financial system. So this is, and I love the word Layla uses. She's not used it today on this call, but we've been working on our marketing for workshop 2, and Layla uses the word servitude. And I was thinking about that word. So Layla, I'm going to go to you first, if that's okay. Maybe expand on that word and just thinking about this concept of how we are enslaved to this concept of money. I'll hand that over to you if that's okay.
Told you to use the wordsmith.
Have my moments. Yeah, essentially, servitude, you know, it's what comes to mind, because essentially from the moment we're born, it's almost, you go to school to learn how to go into the, you know, the working system, to become a good employee, to earn money, to pay taxes, to pay the bills, to get a car. You know, it's almost as though there's certain requirements you have to fulfill in order to be a functioning member of society, and it's almost as though it's made out to be a requirement, and that you have to fulfill that. So it is like, even though it's presented as though there's choices you make in order to do that, you can choose which job you do, or, you know, how you go about certain tasks, but ultimately it all feeds into that same process. So I think that word only came to me quite recently when I realized, right, you know, we're presented with choices, but ultimately there doesn't really seem to be a choice. So when you're feeding into something, then it's not your own, you're doing it for something else. And to know that what you're feeding is actually benefiting something else other than yourself, without the knowledge of who or why that is, then that's how that word came about. I don't know if I've explained that properly, but
And that was great, thank you.
It's almost like stepping into a framework. So you get to a certain age and you step into that framework, and then yeah, you try and fit the mold.
And what I'm thinking of is, even though we haven't released the video yet, we've spoken and we've actually recorded our thoughts on film that I was watching a few weeks back. The name has actually totally slipped me now, so I can't remember the name of the film. Help me out. What was it called? What was that film called that I was watching, where they had different choices? What was it, Layla? Could you...
Divergence, is that what you're talking
about?
Divergence. So I love how you brought that back in. It's almost as though you're presented with a choice, you know, go to school, work hard, get your grades, and choose what path you want to go into. And depending on what choice you do, and depending on how well you've done in your exams, you will be given a certain amount of money. Okay. And I just want to throw this in as well, that, you know, some people feel that they have to work hard for money, and they feel, I mean, what you're actually doing when you're working for the people is you're selling your time for money. But there are other people that have actually figured out how they can earn what some people earn in a whole year, how they can earn that in a month, in a week, and some in a day. So it's very interesting that, you know, when you really check it out, it's about the way how we're playing this money game. And again, going back to what I've said throughout this series about our mindset, and you just have to free your mind. So let's bring it in now. So I don't know if Deniz or Suzie wants to pick up on this in terms of maybe we'll come at it in terms of energy and perpetuating this financial system.
Where do you want me to go? So what do you mean in terms of how we perceive money energetically?
Yeah, and anyhow you want to really pick it up. So point 2, I think, how, you know, we're created at birth, but really we're all perpetuating the financial system. We're giving our energy to it.
I mean, it all depends on your upbringing. Like, so many different areas in which energy can be disrupted when it comes to money, but I mean, I call it like money mindset, money blocks. When we work through it with the Sisters of Light program, it's a case of really looking at what your actual story is around money, what your upbringing was like around money, and then what your current relationship is like with money, and then going through that, and what you feel your value is in terms of money. And then a lot of people, including myself, where I was at a point where I couldn't imagine money coming to me and giving it away. So it's not just the case of money coming to you. It's a flow. So being able to give money away, but also not be like, just be like, there's something to be said for that. Yeah, exactly. So cash money. And yeah, but I think that there's a lot of perception of how, I mean, even charging for things is a difficult one. So, but people either will value or don't value if it's free or you have to pay. If you pay, is it too much? Is it too little? All these sort of things. If it's too much, then, you know, we have to get, you know, market this way and that way. And it's just, it just gets like, I guess, confusing. And so, yeah, I think that's really all I want to say about that. I think you can get really in depth with the stories behind money, but in terms of how we live with money or not live, how nobody is really abundant. And, you know, if you are spiritual, you know, abundance is for all, then it's kind of our reality defunks that massively. And also, I feel like on the flip side, when you are spiritual and you say you trust in the universe, there can be a lot of complacency as well. And I think a lot of people just expect things to come to them because they've done the work, but that's not the case. And so a lot of people who are spiritual beings are not abundant.
Thank you, Deniz. Suzie?
That's waffling.
I think Deniz picked on quite a bit there. Like, abundance is abundance in everything, and it's all equal. That's how I see it in life. Yeah, if it weren't for like the Sisters of Light program that Deniz was on about, I don't think I would have picked up on how much I actually devalued myself, because I'm more of a giver than a receiver. And that's in everything. That's in love, work, money. It's in everything, because we're in partnership with it all. I think, yeah, and I think it's just being aware. And I think the Sisters of Light, that's what they did. That's what made me realize about how money, I'm good with it and everything, I always have been. But it was so amazing how I picked up receiving. I find it a challenge. But like Deniz said with the word abundance, I believe, is in everything: health, wealth, everything. And I treat it all equally. There's not one higher or lower, if that all makes sense. But that's how I believe, and that's how I've been in life. But I think money is the best topic, because money gives us everything, doesn't it? It gives us freedom, it gives us, so our main focus seems to be more on money rather than anything else. So if you're not earning, or if you're not, it's always down to money. Yet everything has got to be equal in life.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so let's have a look at the next slide. So again, just talking about how you are really, I'm going to say, a slave to the system, and I mean it literally. This legal fiction is a way of the government extorting money out of you. So I'm going to bring you to a little story that happened yesterday. I spent some time with one of the mums. We had a lovely workout, and I can't remember how we got on the conversation, but we started to speak about people getting fined. And I just turned around and said, well, the only way, in context, people getting fined if they're breaking so-called rules around this present situation. So I said, well, the only way that the system could fine you is if it was to give them your name. You know, they can only use the information that you've given to them against you. So there's a list there of different examples of how, once they have that information, they seek to get money from you. So does anybody have anything that you wanted to talk about around this particular concept of you are the chattel, sorry?
I think this, Vanessa, shows how we have been controlled and conditioned when it comes to money. You know, if you think about money and how people get your information or anything, nobody really at school taught you about money until we got a bit older and made the choice to make money one of those subjects. So we've been following the lead for years on, oh yeah, I've just got fined, I've got to pay that, I've got to, and we don't challenge it because we believe that's the truth. Yet if we don't ask these questions, if we don't challenge them, we're not going to know nothing about it. And so we become slaves to the system. We become slaves to what everybody believes about money because we don't think we know any different. And we're made to believe we don't know any different. When actually we go out and earn it. We go out and, you know, we make the choices of what we want. Why can't we make the choices of what people are saying to us that you're going to get charged this, and question it?
Certainly. I mean, and this is the thing, it goes back to living in fear and people just not being willing to stand in their divine sovereignty. Okay, I know it's a new concept for some of us, and I'm learning myself, but unless you are willing to stand up for yourself, and how are things going to change? I think Layla wants to come in.
Yeah, no, I was just going to sort of expand on what you've been saying there, and it incorporates all of those concepts in that, you know, when you think of things like council tax, where you become bankrupt, or some people even, you know, sent to jail for not paying, and it didn't matter whether you did it intentionally or it was just because you just didn't have the money, you know, you're trying to survive in other ways. And you think of the harm that causes people daily, and it just does, you know, as Vanessa said, it perpetuates that environment of fear of, oh, you know, not stepping out of line because there's consequences there which are going to be even more of a consequence and effect on your family or your way of living and being. And then the repercussions of having to pick up from that afterwards. And so you just think, oh my goodness, I just want to expand on what Vanessa said there as well. They say, I'm going to have to look it up, but it was a phrase that went along the lines as, a regime is able to persist because good men don't resist. You know, if you just feed into the system and don't do anything to oppose it, then of course it's going to keep on going because, you know, they're getting what they want. I say they in, you know, a sort of a term to refer to the system. And yeah, you just don't go against it. I know that in previous times, though, it has very much been anyone that would stand up to it, there has been quite severe repercussions for them, as in people would just be disappeared or, you know, that kind of thing. And so it made it even more of a barrier for people to want to stand up. But I think it comes back to, you know, discussions we've had about integrity. Is it about being true to yourself regardless of the consequences, you know, and paving the way and being the example, sort of guiding light that others can see, oh, there is a different way? Or do you just fold and then nothing changes, you know? So it's a lot to consider.
Thank you, Layla. Deniz, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I was just going to go back to like what Suzie was saying as well. Like, you know, we get taught at school. I remember the day when we learned how to pay our bills. It was just a list of gas, electric, council tax. And I was just like, what is this shit? This is such a bad lesson. Like, it did tell us how to, it I remember basically our teachers giving us advice that we can get student loans, and that they'll be the cheapest loan we'll ever get. Like, they are not qualified enough to give financial advice, yet they were doing it. And yeah, it just, we don't get taught anything about money in the way that it's going to serve us. I mean, in schools, I've heard of a few schools that have done this, but this isn't the norm. Teaching children how to be entrepreneurial, how to be creative, how to make money. That's not really done. That's not part of the curriculum, is that sort of thing. If you're doing art, it's like, well, here's a bit of paper, create within these boundaries. Everything is within a boundary, right? And that's the problem. So a fine is an example of stepping out of the boundary. And sometimes you see these boundaries, sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. These are just all made up boundaries. Like, if we can just get our head around the made up nature of our lives, then when you just believe, it's like, you know, the average speed camera, when you're going down an empty road and it's telling you to go 20 miles an hour, I'm like, okay, who is telling me to go at this speed? There's nobody here. I can make my own judgment on how fast I'm going, how safe I'm going to be driving. I feel like, although, you know, you're talking about a gray area, right, where there are people that are not going to be safe and are crazy. But we're talking about coming from being a good person, making the right decisions, making choices that are from the heart, not from psychotic place. And also with the whole fines system, and also going back to just like life itself, like, I feel like now is the safest time to do any of these things and to resist. More so in the UK. I don't know about other countries. Other countries might not be so safe, but still safer than, you know, 100 years ago, say. So I guess this is exactly the perfect time to really kick back and resist, and see where it goes. You know, see where it goes.
I love that, Deniz, and it brings, you know, that collective action, people supporting each other, standing up for each other, you know, and you know, because I think for years now people have talked about how things are working, and oh yeah, you know, in the background, oh, this is how, and no one's doing anything. But if we all stand together and support each other, and you know, are there for each other and guide each other and just provide examples for others, then things can change. You know, it will have to. When the people work together, then that's what makes a difference. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, it's something that Deniz said as well. You know, you're referring to the boxes and the limitations that we impose on ourselves. And my favourite question that I had someone else saying, and I've been using it a lot over the sort of last year or so, is, who made that up? You know, everything has just been made up. Someone's implemented that at some point. Someone's made it up. So it's like, right, so who made that up? Why? You know, can we not make up something else? You know, and people like look at you like, oh yeah, like someone made that up. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So what I wanted to just make sure that the listener is aware of, that our second workshop, which is coming up on the 12th of June, it is entitled Entrapment and Enslavement. And we are going to have a guest speaker who, one of the topics that will be covered is about the fiat currency. So you do really need to get your head around the fact that money is paper. And I don't know the details of her talk, but from my own research, you know, the history behind how we got from what we used to exchange with, which was precious metals such as gold and other things, or even cattle. I know that's not a precious metal, but you know, back in the day when it was like, I'm going to do a service for you, here's a cow and whatever, to where we are now looking at money, she may be picking that up. So please tune in to the session about that. I just wanted to go back on this idea of rules. And, you know, we're talking about any of those things there, which is all about the government. They're going to talk about the law. Well, there's a presumption of law. Where did law actually come from? Because as I said in my workshop, we're talking about universal law. That's the only law that you should be concerning yourself with. Many of us, adults, are not aware of the universal laws. You can ask them about, but maybe they're not aware of actual legal system, and we covered that last time. But is it legal or lawful? So there's a presumption of law. And also, I wanted to two final things here. I got a lovely story yesterday of an electrician that I met on the park, and this is about freeing your mind, because him and his wife said something very small to me, and I just said, well, I'm not into any of this rubbish, right? And then they went, oh no, we're not either. It ends when we say it does. And I was like, brilliant, I'm speaking to the right parents here. Then we carried on our conversation, and one of the things that was very interesting that he said, is an electrician, and he said, well, for me, what I really am not going to, be comfortable with is I'm being told I can go into different people's houses and do my job, but yet I cannot go and see my grandmother. So what are we talking about? We're talking about money. We're talking about the fact, yes, he's encouraged to go out, earn the money so he can income tax, pay your council tax, and all of the taxes, pay for energy, pay for water, all the rest of it. Yeah, he has been told by some rule makers, he's not allowed to go and see his grandmother. So he was saying, I'm not having any of it. Final point that I want to say is about collective action. Yes, I think collective action's great. Personally, I haven't been going to protests. I went to some smaller things in the city where I live, but I haven't been going to any of the larger protests. And what I would really want to encourage people to look at is collective action can take place in different formats. If we're talking about money as your bond, okay, and how we're enslaved to the system to earn money to keep this beast alive, what is it they actually adore? What is their adornment, sorry, and it is the money. So why are we not doing collective action to literally boycott multinationals on a massive scale? And I'm talking big, never mind about everybody's taking their hard-earned cash to go to the capital and all the rest of it. We could be doing very strategic things which is going to hit them where it hurts. So yes, I really commend people in the movement who are being not only strategic and encouraging people to withdraw from the paying of council tax, but also there is now lots of information about how you can do that in a way where you've got that peace of mind. There's now a Zoom call that's happening on Friday to give people more information about that. There's other things that we can be doing. So if for any of you that are part of the movement and you're thinking, oh, well, I've been going to protests, whatever, try and think out of box. We've spoken about living in a box. You're probably watching us from a box, which is a phone or a tablet or whatever. Think out of that box. Think about what could you do, even if it's just a small number of people in your community, within your circle, who's thinking like you're thinking. How can you hit the system where it hurts? Withdraw that spending power. Put it somewhere else. Okay. Do not be a slave to this money. You have to take back your power in a meaningful way where you are saying, actually, I'm making a difference and I'm playing this on my own terms. So if anybody wants to add to that.
I love that, Vanessa. Oh, sorry, I love that, Vanessa. Exactly that. In taking the action, it has to be things that are going to have an impact and affect, make a difference. It's like you say, if we were to all stop paying or feeding our money into a certain corporation for just 2 or 3 days, that would have a huge impact. That would really, really make a difference. And the other thing I was going to say is what you were saying, yes, learning the ways to do things. But what I think holds most people back is the fear of the consequences and the convenience. For a lot of people, we've got used to this convenience, like if you think especially of online sort of corporations or things like that. And it's about, right, integrity. You know, some things is going to take you a few more minutes to get, if you go locally or have to source something, or you know, pay into that little business, that small local business, instead of just pressing a few buttons. But it's those sort of steps, it's that sort of action, real action, that is going to make the difference in quite a profound way. And it may seem small, but it's not. It's huge. The impact it has is massive.
And I love what you said, Vanessa. So true. So true. You know, and if anybody's listening and they want to partake, they want to do something, make it about us, we, as a collaboration. Start collaborating, because there's going to be another person just like you thinking the same thing. Don't be afraid to have these small debates and conversations with yourself. I'm finding now that people are getting deeper and wanting to know more. So if there's only 2 of you, 3 of you, it becomes bigger and bigger, and do it for you. You know, we've got so many people that feel frustrated and angry about decisions and not taking risks, but why not have that little conversation with yourselves and make that bigger? Do a post about it, start getting it out there and bringing people together, because collaboration, that's, you know, that's the beauty. It's not about I or struggling on your own. Make it we, make it us, and make it powerful.
Well, thank you so much, Divine Sisters, for actually, you know, feeling my passion and my energy about this. And even as I've like said these words, and it came to me this morning on my morning walk with my my friend. And you know, I agree with Layla. We both admitted, as we were agreeing with each other, we haven't been doing it ourselves. But you know what? It goes back to that word integrity. And I really feel, and I'm just saying this, I really feel that as a divine collective, we can spark something. So we'll speak behind the scenes of like one thing that, you know, one of these beasts, these multinational beasts, that even if it's just us in our little community, we're going to boycott them, and we're going to tell our friends, and we're going to make this movement happen. So let's think out of the box. Let's think out of the box. Anyway, you know what? Time has ticked along. And we said that we only want this to be about 20 minutes, but we get so into it, don't we? And I've really enjoyed this session. I hope you have, and I hope that we've added value to the listeners. So just final thoughts then now, as we can wrap up today's beautiful conversation, please.
Okay, I'll go. I feel like we kind of sum up that we have a choice. Don't feel like you don't have a choice. If you're struggling for money, then you know, be aware of why you're struggling for money, and look, there's options here where you avoid paying and save yourself a little bit of money. Actually, quite a lot of money. You know, hundreds of pounds. So yeah. Don't feel like you're just stuck in a system. You can step out the system. You can be free, and don't feel like you are bogged down with bills and whatnot. And then this is what we're basically going to show you, is how you can free yourself from that. And it's not easy emotionally, but it's a process. And again, I'm going to use my fitness analogy. You know, training for a marathon isn't easy. Not everyone does it, but it takes time and dedication to actually run the 23 miles. And you might have to stop, you might have to walk a bit, you might have to catch your breath, you might have to drink some water, but it takes as long as it takes, and you'll get there.
My one is, it's actually a post that Vanessa put up today, and it was on the lines of, you know, embracing the journey, and how she uses everything, you know, the things we see as contrast, as a reminder of what we do want. So in experiencing what we don't necessarily want, it just, you know, I sort of added, it reminds us to course correct, right? I don't want that. So what action am I going to take to sort of steer the ship and start moving in a different direction? I'm not calling all ships, you know, but just, you know, and it is just that, it's the small steps. And sometimes things seem like big things, but it's not. It's those little choices we make that all accumulate, that all come together, and you know, it just takes, you can look back in a week or two or a month and think, oh wow, you know, sort of there's been huge changes. It's all accumulated. And I also wanted to add something that Susie usually reminds everybody, in that we're all in this together. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out, no matter what time you come across this video, you know, just reach out with your questions, support, or even just to connect, and you know, can't wait to meet you all.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I'm going to just say that sometimes we sit there with that fear of taking a risk, or that fear, and we sit there with old judgments of what we've made about the past. But bring it into here. There's a solution in every problem. Why has that problem come up? Have you not ever thought to yourself, why has that come up? Is it really fear? And what is it that I'm afraid of? Because normally you're afraid of an illusion, which isn't true. It's from the past. And then if you're fearing the future, what is it? And you know, sometimes you'll probably find a little diamond or a gem, a bit of an idea where something says, oh yeah, that's rubbish. But no, pick up on that idea. What is it that's fearful? You know, because we all have these opportunities, and in that problem is a solution if you look deep enough. We're deep here, so we'll always find a solution, you know. But yeah, that's my final thing.
Oh wow, do you know, I love you all so much. There's just so much energy, wisdom, and just coming togetherness on this call and what we're doing as a collective. So what I want to say is, you know, I've said this in other Divine Cuppas about social programming. Unfortunately, that is what has happened to us, but we can break that chain. Just be prepared to free your mind. Last point is, there's a resource guide available. There's a link, there's going to be a link in the description here. The resource guide is going to give you information about other groups, teaching platforms that are really coming from this, maybe from a different angle than we are, but building on that knowledge. What I'm going to do in the guide is I'm going to update it with information about the council tax conversations Telegram group. I'll put a link to that Telegram group, but also a link to the Zoom calls. So I know that the Zoom calls are happening every Friday at 6 p.m. So there's so much happening, but it's about collective action. So come on, break these chains, and let's live the life we want to. Thank you so much, my divine sisters. Absolutely love being on these calls on a Sunday. And yeah, looking forward to getting the information out about our second workshop, Enslavement and Entrapment, coming up in June. We'd love for you to be on the live call. If not, join the community as a member and you'll have access to the full suite of the replay. All right, then, you take care. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.